Hello and welcome once more to Red Gaming Tech for yet more of your daily gaming news with myself, Amata. Today is still the 29th of November and I'm here once again to discuss the topic of PS4 digital game pricing. But Amata, I hear you cry, you said that that video yesterday was your last video on it. Well, so did I. I thought the same thing, but more discussion has come up as Sony has actually spoken out regarding the digital game pricing on the PlayStation Store. As of course, even though the prices have been reduced to basically match those on the Xbox One, a number of prospective PS4 owners were disappointed, and of course already owners of the PS4 were disappointed to see exclusives such as Killzone and Knack for sale at £52.99, which of course a little bit higher than disc versions from the high street and shops such as Amazon. For example, Killzone is £48 on Amazon. So basically people were wondering, well, why is a digital version of a game more expensive than the physical copy? Surely the physical copy costs you more to produce, and well, yes it does. Now, to be honest, these are fair enough concerns. Both Sony and Microsoft are really pushing the digital future of console gaming, and of course everyone's thinking, well, you know, you've got the PC digital storefront, Steam, and how cheap the games are on there. People thinking, well, you know, they can't be as cheap as on PC perhaps, but a little bit cheaper than you would pay for on disc, surely. There was a Eurogamer reader who put it fairly succinctly, and he said, quote, "There is just no excuse for digital games being this expensive. This is why this method of delivery has so many cheerleaders in the industry. They just want to rip everyone off. Why should these games be £20 more than on Steam and the like?" Now, of course, this is true for both the PS4 and Xbox One, but it was Sony who have spoken out. But when we compare the PS4 first-party digital games to their equivalent Xbox One games, Sony is a little bit more expensive. Now, Killzone and Knack, as I said previously, are £52.99, whereas the Xbox One exclusive Rise, Dead Rising 3 and Forza 5 are £44.99. So you can kind of see the difference there. Now, Eurogamer actually put readers' complaints to Fergal Gara, who is the UK PlayStation boss, and he basically said that the launch pricing of games on the PlayStation Store was affected by Sony's desire to keep shops on side during the crucial console launch period. And he had rather a lot to say on this, so let's just begin. He said, quote, "Digital pricing is an interesting question to raise. First of all, we want to support a healthy retail channel, so it's not in our interest to go and seriously undermine retail." And he also added that games often lower their RRP in an effort to attract your business, and this is more aggressive in the UK than in other countries. And he continued by saying, quote, "Let's not forget the UK is probably the most competitive retail space there is in the world. So when it comes to any recommended retail price, they'll frequently choose to price significantly below them. You mentioned Amazon as an example. Amazon control their own pricing. We don't set the pricing. So if they decide on some crazy low pricing, so they decide to charge their customers, that doesn't mean it's appropriate for the PlayStation Store to match or follow that price. These are effectively all independent retailers." Now, despite this, Gara does expect digital pricing to lower after the launch of the PS4 to something approaching parity with high street prices, and he said, quote, "Will there be a settling down and alignment, and where would we expect digital pricing to be? We'd hope it would be roughly equivalent to street pricing for the disc. That's where we are expecting the dust to settle over the time." Now, Sony's games aren't the only ones priced higher on the store than in shops. EA's games, such as FIFA 14, are £55, and Assassin's Creed 4 is more expensive, although the price is the same for that game regardless of whether you buy it on PS4 and Xbox One. It just costs more than you would pay for the box copy. For example, I actually purchased Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag for the PS4 today, and it cost me £48, whereas it's more like 53 or even 55 if I recall correctly on the PS Store and Xbox One store. Now, both Sony and Microsoft do not set the price of third-party games on their digital store, but they do control factors that affect it, such as currency conversion. And they said, quote, "In respect to third-party content, obviously we're part of the pricing equation, and the PlayStation Store is only part of that pricing equation. And the publisher has a big say, particularly about the price they offer us at, so I can't be drawn into comment on that." Now, Gara did say to Eurogamer that Sony is listening to feedback on digital pricing and reiterated that he does believe that prices will go down after the PS4 launch period and that Sony is striving to strike the right balance between digital and physical versions. And he continued, quote, "Buying full games digitally is still a relatively new thing. Buying DLC and add-ons is already a significant business, so I think we'll find the right level that allows retail to coexist, selling discs and giving a high street presence for our games, but also the digital option to coexist alongside it. But I would expect under normal circumstances that digital pricing for first-party titles will be at around the same price you would expect to pay for the disc." So basically what the point of what Gara is trying to say is that yes, it is true here in the UK, shops do tend to price below the recommended retail price, basically saying, hey, buy from us, we're cheap, yeah? Not every store does that, but quite a few do. Now, basically, at the moment, brick and mortar stores are not going anywhere. That is a fact of the console market at the moment. The infrastructure, the internet connection just isn't there for most of the planets to be downloading 50 gigabyte games. Just an example. I believe the biggest is 45, but still, you get my point. The infrastructure just isn't there for most people. A lot of people have really good internet, but a lot of people just have poor internet. It might just be they live in the wrong area, or they just live in an amazing area, but they just don't have the internet because it's just not there. Their provider, or any providers, don't offer above X amount of bandwidth or what have you. So it's not going to work as well as say Steam has, just because the game size is usually larger. That's not to say that some games on Steam aren't ridiculously large, because well, they are, but not quite as large as the next gen titles for the console. So you know, we're going to have to be putting up with brick and mortar stores for quite some time. So it more than makes sense to me that both Sony and Microsoft have to basically not annoy them too much and not step on their toes too heavily, because well, if they suddenly throw up their hands and go, you're undercutting us too much, no one's buying from our store anymore, we're not going to stock your games, that would hurt them pretty badly, because a lot of people still will walk into their local store and pick up a game off the shelf. Some people may order it from Amazon, some maybe will download it digitally, but quite a few people will still go into a store, whether that be the local supermarket, game store, what have you. A lot of people still do that. A lot of people like having the disc and the little manual, although they're not really proper manuals anymore, which is fair enough. If people still want to buy their games that way, they have that option, that's fine. So I can see where Gara is coming from. However, having such a price difference between even the retail stores and digital is a little bit weird. So let's hope that Gara is right, and that when the PS4 launch period is over, we do see a reduction in prices. As I said, for Assassin's Creed, I paid £48 for the box copy, and yet the digital is £55. Now, of course, that's an Ubisoft third-party title, so they do control the digital price. But then again, I would still say to Ubisoft, why is your game so much more expensive for the digital version? It costs you less to produce. Now, I don't mind paying the same amount as I would for the physical version as I was a digital version. Having parity like that, that's fine. I would not be bothered by that. Having it be cheaper would be great and all, but you know, just having it be the same price would be nice, because we're not even get that at the moment on either of the next gen consoles usually. Obviously there are some exceptions to the rule, but you know, I'm just talking in broad terms here for both of them. You know, but I don't know if we'll ever see that anytime soon. Hopefully we will, but we may need to move more towards a digital future for brick and mortar stores to have less of a hold on the industry and all of that, for us to really see the prices that we desire. It would be nice to see them cost the same across the digital/physical, but I don't know. We don't know if we'll ever see ridiculously high reductions like we see on Steam, but it would be nice just to not be charged more for a digital version, considering you can't even trade that in or anything. It's a little bit odd. So hopefully we'll see some changes soon for both of the next gen consoles, and of course gaming in general, as we move rapidly into the next generation. Of course, it has now officially begun all around the world. Of course, very, very early days yet, so we may see big changes on the horizon, but I don't think we're going to see that huge a change in digital game pricing on console until, well, basically we move further into the digital future. Anyway, that is me done for this video. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.